That's what it is. I think all teams should be watching this Arizona team.
Yeah, I mean they've got everything, man. They've got the defense, they've got the length, they've got
Yeah,
the guard
Tim
play.
Towers.
Just, I mean, how do you compete against that, right? But hey, that's why we play the games. So Manny, one of the things, it's wonderful to have you back last week and today. I hope that we continue to, I know life gets busy for all of us, but I hope that
Sure.
you will continue to take the time to join us, because besides the excellent sport analysis and all of that, what I love is that we've got, I mean, maybe this goes back to being friends since we were teenagers, right? But we've got this just telepathy where we didn't really plan this, but you did a wonderful job of the segue into the next game, mentioning those Duke Blue Devils, because first
Yeah.
game on Friday was those Duke Blue Devils. They were playing against another stalwart, another coach who refuses to give up,
Oh yeah.
Rick Pitino and the St. John Red Storm. And boy, oh boy, they gave Duke everything they could handle. You knew Rick Pitino was going to have his team ready. And I mean, what I expected to see in Arkansas and Arizona that I didn't see, I saw in this matchup between St. John's and Duke. They had him on the ropes. They had a lead with 2 minutes left, I think, 2 or 3 minutes left. But in the end, Duke, too much talent, too much to overcome, and they were able to eke out this win, 80-75. Was this more about what the greatness of Patino being an X's and O's coach, especially when the chips are down at the big time in the big dance, or was this maybe some cracks in the Duke armor?
I think honestly, it's more Rick Pitino and the team. This was one of the most amazing teams that St. John's has put up. I mean, they beat my Kansas Jayhawks last game before this game in the round of 32, and yeah, they pushed Duke to the limit, man. They have won 30 games this season, and Rick Pitino, one thing about him, this is like a kind of a resurgence for him to come back over here after Louisville and having what he did at that program and prior to that Kentucky. For him, this is just what he does. He just knows how to win. And there was certainly, after the way their big guy Zuby was playing, Elijah Four, I mean, he had 25 points. I'm sorry, 17 points against the Duke star player Evan, 25. This guy was in the game, and I think, like you said, a couple of late possessions, this could have gone the other way. I mean, so Duke definitely got a scare, but I feel like Duke is one of those teams that will be playing for the championship. I have Arizona, and then I've got Duke on the other side. So
Yeah. So Rick Pitino, we were talking about him again. Teams that move on, we'll talk about them more. But I want to give what's due to the teams that Rick Pitino. Good job getting this St. John's team. I mean, not since the days of Lou Carnesecca and his sweaters, right? Back in the 91, 92, 93, that time frame, has St. John's been this promising, has been this um, uh, just they haven't mattered this much since those days. So 30 plus years, and Rick Pitino, um, you know, I talked about this with Shep a couple of weeks ago. Rick Pitino, not Coach Pitino. Rick Pitino is a bad man, but Coach Pitino is a bad man, man. You know what I mean?
everywhere,
Different ways.
everywhere he's went,
Yeah,
everywhere he's went. I mean, if you look at his record, one of a true Hall of Famer. Multiple rings. I know he had little coaching scandal, recruiting scandal as well. A lot of times, obviously, which eventually led to the NIL. NCAA said, "Okay, can't keep having this. Let's make it fair for the players too." And so we are in this current era. But that aside, I mean, all this guy does is win.
all he
He's
does
been
is
at St. John's now 3 years, and immediately when he came over, he got them to 20 wins, 20 and 13. They were fifth, right? Now the last 2 years, they've been number one in their Big East Conference.
Yep.
They went 31-5 last year and 30-7 this year. So all he's done is have a 76% winning record in the 3 years at St. John's, and immediately got them almost getting into the Final Four. So kudos to them. I expect big things out of them going forward as long as he's there. But every time there's a coaching vacancy somewhere in the some of the elite schools around around the country, like what's happening at Carolina right now, coaches like Rick Pitino's name will definitely keep coming up as well.
Yep. It's craziness, man. Great game. And as you said, almost pulled it off. I mean, and to pull off against a 2-loss Duke team who many, along with Arizona, are considered to be, it was neck and neck who was going to be the first overall seed, whether it was going to be Duke or Arizona, right? I mean, their favorites, their co-favorites, definitely were going into March Madness when it began, and I think even in spite of this, I agree with you. I think this was more about Rick Pitino and his big game experience coming through than more of a weakness on the Duke side. But yeah, just insane stuff. 80-75, close game. It is time for a break. I want to take that and come back, and we'll pick things up right where we left off with that second game on Friday between the Michigan Wolverines and the Alabama Crimson Tide. You're listening to the Sports Spotlight right here on Radio Azad with Rizwan and Manny.
This is Radio Azad, streaming in Dallas, Fort Worth, and all around the world.